Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm delighted that you can be with us today. Tom T. Moore is our special guest. Tom is an award-winning author and speaker. He's been in the entertainment business for more than 40 years, where he has been the president and CEO of his own international motion picture and TV program distribution business based in Plano, Texas. So he and I are practically neighbors. He's also a longtime columnist for the Sedona Journal of Emergence. Tom has now also had his interest drawn to the very spiritual nature of the southwestern United States, where, among other things, a series of ley lines cross, and we'll talk with him about what that means. He has been called to investigate activities there, and he is now the author of 8 books and still counting. Tom's books include The Gentle Way, which is a self-help guide for those who believe in angels, The Gentle Way 2, The Story Continues, The Gentle Way 3, Master Your Life, The Gentle Way with Pets, Angelic Help for Your Animal Companions, First Contact, Conversations with an ET, It Gets Stranger, Atlantis and Lemuria, The Lost Continents Revealed, like technology. I don't know what that means. We'll explain it to him. They didn't send me that book. The most recent 2 books are Conversations with Gaia, Soul of the Earth, volumes 1 and 2. You can visit his website, which is thegentlewaybook.com. And Tom says he thought he had only 1 book in him in the beginning. That's why it's not the Gentle Way Books, plural, which I think is hysterical. He had so far 8 books, and he's working on a 9th. So he had a lot of books in him. That's why it's only the Gentle Book 0 and then 1, and then let's see how many more.
Yeah.
Now it's 8 books, and let's see how many more there are. Tom T. Moore has just begun to do his own podcast, too. There's everything in this man. He talks there about further fascinating topics like past lives, parallel lives, future lives, and all sorts of amazing things. Oh, my goodness. Welcome, Tom. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Roberta. Thanks for having me again.
You're a man with a mind that is raging far and wide, looking for information. And I think that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's a
Yeah,
beautiful
I,
thing.
I was drafted, you could say.
You were well, tell us that story. Suddenly you
Okay,
felt there were books that you had to write, and how did that happen?
sure. My wife and I, back in 2005, went to Sedona for a seminar put on by Dick Sutphen, Sutphen,
Yes.
um, on improving your psychic ability. And so I had previously had an Indian shaman living in the 1600s that uh, was uh, his name in English was Reveals the Mysteries. And he had been channeled for me before, uh, and but when I asked if that was my sole contract to support um, Robert Shapiro's work, who he was channeling Reveals the Mysteries, I was told no, and that felt very strange. So finally, um, where uh, uh, I one day I was uh, practicing with Dick Suppin, and and he was going to put us under into a light altered state, and we were supposed to do automatic writing. And so I thought, well, I think I'll contact Reveals the Mysteries because he had said that my sole contract was not to support Robert's work. And I thought that very strange because, I got the idea from a channeled article that he did for the Sedona Journal. So in the when he put us under, I said, "Well, reveals the mysteries. Are you there?" And he said, "Yes, I am, Tom." And I said, "Wow, this is really great." So and so I asked him, and he said, "Tom, you're supposed to reintroduce people to the gentle way." And I got the name of my first book the very first time I ever communicated with him. And so he said, "Tom," he said, "besides that book, you're going to write other books." And I said, "No, no, no. I'm a business guy. I'm in international film distribution. I'm going to do that till I retire. That's it." And he said, "No, books." Almost that loud in my ear, kind of.
Yeah, I know. I know
Comes
what
it,
happens when they're in control, and they
yeah,
are in
it comes
control.
through your pineal gland in the back of your head that everybody has. So anyone can do what I do. You just have to, you just have to practice and practice and practice. In my case, I'm told I'm only the only person on earth that does what the people call channeling, um, where I take questions from anybody, anywhere. Last week or two, I've had questions from India, China, um, oh gosh, Australia, Europe, you name it. So people all over the world send me these questions, and if I haven't asked them before, I'll put it on the list, and then I will. This is what like my list looks like for
My
this was
goodness.
last Saturday's, and so at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll get up but I want to do it where I'm not thinking about anything else. And I put myself into a light alternate state and start asking these questions.
That's quite wonderful. I
So
get questions also from all over the world because my podcast is all over the world,
sure.
and but but they don't. I don't ask them of beings not in body. I answer them myself directly. I think that's wonderful that you're willing to do it that way. That's
Yeah.
lovely of
And
you.
yeah. And I'll give you one other little story. I continued to talk to Reveals the Mysteries, but one time when I was going to talk to him, he said, "I'm sorry, I can't talk to you today. The chief of our tribe just transitioned, died, and we grew up as boys together. He was my best friend, and I'm grieving." And so he said, "I'm going to let you talk to uh, you're also a shaman living in the 1600s, and your name is Stillwater." So that was the only time I have ever spoken to myself in another life.
Yeah, wow, that's pretty weird.
Yeah, different. Felt kind of funny. Well, how how are you doing? But all of our lives on Earth are all going on at the same time.
There is no
And
time in the afterlife, so-called.
yeah,
So yeah,
and
it's.
so go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add, I had a similar experience in a way. I had a question. I wanted my present spirit guide was Thomas Jefferson in a previous lifetime, and I had a question I wanted him to answer that I was thinking was talking to Thomas Jefferson. No, he's quite a different person now. So he said, but I can take you to talk to Thomas Jefferson, and he did in the
Mm,
afterlife who was a charming, I have to say, fellow and delightful. But here were two personalities that were in sequence. Here was him in later life, and here was him as Thomas Jefferson. It was very interesting, I must say, to have that conversation.
yeah,
And
and it's something that all of these lives, most people on average, I'm told, have 600 to 800 lives on Earth.
yes,
And all of these
some have
lives are happening.
thousands, they tell me, though, Tom. It's
Pardon?
so amazing. Some have they tell me thousands. A few, many have hundreds. You're right. It's
Yeah.
astonishing.
Yeah. And so in these average 600 to 800 lives,
Yeah.
um, every one of them are taking place at this time. So I have a prayer that I came up with because I had, as a German soldier in World War One, before I was killed in the trenches, I had killed people, and it was my job to do that. But um,
You
I
were a
brought
hero for doing that.
I brought grief and heartache to the families and friends of the people that I killed. So in in this life, in order to balance that one, I had to experience heartache, physical heartache. So I had congestive heart failure and have had ablations. So that
Yes.
was wiping out that balancing. But I asked my guardian angel Theo, I said, well, can I say a prayer for those people? And he said, oh, yes. He said, you have never done this before in any of all your lives on earth. And he said, if you say this prayer every single day, it affects that one day in all your other lives that you've had on earth. So every single morning, I say, I ask any and all beings to come to the aid and comfort of anyone that I've ever harmed in any way, in any. Uh, I'm messing it up. Uh, I ask any and all beings to come to the aid and comfort of anyone that I've ever harmed, either physically, mentally, morally, spiritually, or emotionally, in any past, present, or future life. And I ask that any and all beings come to the aid and comfort of the families and friends of anyone that I've ever harmed in any way, in any past, present, or future life. You can find that prayer on my website, www.thegeneralwaybook.com, and click on signs, and you can print out that prayer that you can say every single morning. And I'm told it's going to make all the rest of your lives on earth easier.
What a lovely thought that is. That's beautiful. And that's a lovely thing for anyone to do.
Yeah, when you're when you're praying for people that you hurt in some way, it it supposedly it affects even the past lives. So the
Of
past
course.
lives get easier, the future lives get easier. So it's, because they're all taking place at the same time. And but that prayer only affects that one day each time you say it in all those other lives. So that's why you have to say it every day.
Oh, my dear Tom, that's just wonderful. What a good man you are.
Well, I try, like all humans. As I'm told, uh, when I talk to Creator, and anybody can talk to Creator, I assure you. You just ask for a Creator, and Creator is instantly there. Creator tells me he has trillions of conversations going on all at the same time, all across the universe. And so you know, create. I got lost in what I was going to say, but but uh, you know, Creator um, loves everyone and says He will answer even the most trivial question. All you have to do is ask for Him in your meditations when you're in that light alternate state, and He's right there. So He said, in the future, every single person on earth will communicate with me. It's just my soul contract is to encourage people to start meditating and start asking to speak to your guardian angel, your uh, creator, you name it.
Well, that's beautiful. That's just truly beautiful. So do you hear from people who have read your books?
Oh yeah, they're always asking questions and uh, so it's as I say, that's where I get my next books. Right now, I'm working on a book on Creator, and it's already over 250 pages, and I'm still going. So um, it may go over 350. I don't know. I just I just keep on asking questions that people send in to me to ask Creator, and we go from there.
Well, I guess you are writing quite a few books.
Yeah, well, it's easy when you just take what somebody tells you. In this
Yeah,
case, Creator, and
yeah,
and you say, well, okay, you know. Although I tell you, last week was kind of hard. I was getting questions from India about kinetic energy, and I have no science background. When I graduated from TCU, it was with a degree in finance. So,
yeah.
didn't think I would ever need a science background. So, but I'm told that there will be people that will come along that have science backgrounds that in their meditations they'll ask these science-based questions.
Yes.
So that's good.
And Mr. and Mrs. Google can often be very helpful, I have found.
Yeah, that's true. And I should have probably Googled kinetic energy, but
Yeah,
I didn't. So I struggled with that one. So,
yeah,
I do the best I can. I've been told uh, numerous times, including by Creator. Creator said, Tom, you receive at a very high level, but you're not perfect. And he said,
That's too bad. Oh dear.
oh, I
You
appreciate.
try though. You try.
Yeah. And so I estimate that I'm like in the 80 to 90% percentile, but there's that other 10 or 20%. So I always tell people about that at the very top of my newsletters. Hey, I'm not perfect. And just like Creator said, you know, you're not perfect. And he said no one that does this channeling work and all is perfect either. So keep that in
No,
mind. We all
no.
we all
It,
try, and as the vibrational level of the population of as a whole rises, um, people are going to get better and better, uh, 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 being able to receive these what are called thought packets. That's what my guardian angel Theo tells me. He says they're called thought packets, and they come in through your pineal gland, and then they're processed in your brain according to your education, your knowledge, your religious beliefs. So, as an example, 10 people could ask the very same question and get 10 different answers,
yeah,
all because of your background.
yep, yep, that's quite true. That's quite true. Have you thought of giving courses, classes
Well,
around some of your books?
I've done some classes um, in person before, some workshops. So, uh, and And in fact, in my podcast that I started doing, I was kind of pushed in that direction to do those. I was able to use some of my PowerPoint presentations in two or three of the podcasts, so people got the workshop without having to pay for it.
Well, that's always nice.
Yeah.
But if
So,
if you're going to give your time, you can also charge for that. I mean, it can be wonderful to do workshops now that we have Zoom. I don't know how people lived without Zoom. You can do wonderful workshops for people all over the world.
mhm.
And you're reaching people easily all over the world, which is a wonderful thing.
Yeah. So it is. And I, I hope that people will especially experiment with the gentle way. That's so important. I found that there are people that will read my newsletters, and that's all they do. They just read and they go on to the next newsletter or the next whatever. And that's a shame. They're not doing themselves any any service, shall we call it, by just reading and going on. They need um, to practice this. Practice makes perfect. And and when I was just started doing these channelings, I would ask my guardian angel Theo, "Well, how am I doing?" And he'd say, "Practice, practice, practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice, practice." He told me that so many times, I finally gave up asking, and I just plowed ahead and said, "Okay, I'll do the best I can." So that's how it kind of works. So if you'd like, we could talk a little bit about past, present, and future lives.
If you'd like to explain that, some people, I think, might be fascinated to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay. Um, and keep in mind, these are, you know, contained in thousands of questions I've asked. I started asking questions in 2005, and, here we are, 2026, and I'm still asking questions. And so, I mean, the books bear that out from all the questions I ask. So, on our past, present, and future lives, what's unique, but as I say, we're in this. Our souls volunteered for what's called the Earth experiment, and the Earth experiment was um, created by Creator, and the creator of our universe created the whole universe in the 10 positive energies, along with the trillions of other creators that have created their universes in the 10 positive energies. Well, but there were these four negative energies, and nobody wanted to use them because they were very restrictive and so on, very, very hard to work with. There was only four of them. And so our souls had achieved the highest vibrational level of anyone on our planets. In my case, I'd had 100,000 lives on a water world called Nomo in the Sirius B star system. And so I was a religious leader, and and so I volunteered for the Earth experiment, and in my case, and I don't know if we'll have time to go into that uh, with this time, but in my case, um, I've already had 1,005 lives. Uh, my sole interest are religions of the world, so I've been around for the start of every major religion on earth with the exception of two, and those are in my future, but they're also in the past. So you can have a future, you can have a life today, your next life might be 1,000 years in the future, and the next life after that, all the way back in the Atlantean times, over 12,000 or 15 or 20,000 years ago. So it all depends on what you need to experience in your relationships and all that will help raise your vibrational level. So that's one of the unusual things about these lives because they're all going on at the same time, and our life that we're living now affects all those other lives on Earth. So in my case, I've uh, one of the lives that I had was back in ancient um, Atlantis about 12,700 years ago, and I was I created the gentle way, and that was when I talked to Reveals the Mysteries the first time. He said, "Tom," he said, "you're going to reintroduce people to the gentle way." So that's how that came about. That was one of my past lives. But because uh, the now at that time there were only islands left of the continent of Atlantis because a line of volcanoes had exploded sitting on top of the mid-Atlantic ridge, and most of the continent sank, killing millions of people, not only on that continent, but all around the world when the seas rose over 160 feet. And so there was the island of Poseidia left, which was about the size of Cuba, but round in shape. Then Aaron, 375 miles to the south, and five little islands in a half moon ring around below it. So I was told in my meditations and all that I had to encourage my followers, there were a million at that time, to follow me and migrate to Egypt. And so only 25,000 of them were able to do that, but we all migrated to Egypt. And lo and behold, when we got there, and it was in waves, it wasn't all 25,000 at one time. There was an Egyptian princess that helped us resettle, and that's my wife in this life. And in her next life, she's going back 12,500 years ago, and she's going to be one of the early pharaohs, and I'm going to be her assistant. But it's a past life for me. I've already had that. So it gets confusing, but that's the way it works.
Yeah, that's pretty that's pretty confusing, isn't it?
And my next life on Earth is going to be as a female space pilot in the 3400 era of one of the 17 Earth starships. And she's also going to be uh, a pilot on that very same starship. So, and one of my good friends today is also going to be on that same starship with us. So, um, starships are going to be smaller than the biggies that the ETs have. We'll only have a crew of about 350
That's still not small.
for you. And uh, I'm also having other setup lives with this in this life. As an example, I have a good friend. I won't mention what occupation he had for his protection. And in the next life, which will be in both of our pasts, I'll be his mother and we'll have a great life. But in the next life after that, he's going to be L. Ron Hubbard, and I'm going to be Sarah Northrop, and I'm going to help him write Dianetics, except it's going to be a more gentle version than the one that exists today. Gets
Have
gets
you informed
confusing.
these people that you're related by linearity
No,
of
well, in his case, he because of his beliefs, he, uh, he would not be able to believe that. So I don't worry. You know, it's, I've got another friend in his next life. And again, he's got very strict religious views. In his next life, he's going to be, oh gosh, what's the name of the guy? Um, the uh, the society that uh, translates the Bibles into all the languages of the world.
oh, how
And I'm,
pleasant.
hmm?
That's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah, and he's going to be the guy that starts that. And I'm going to be an advisor assistant, and after that, his next life is going to be even farther back, and he's going to be uh, the head of the Protestant religion. So um, he's going to start the Protestant religion again. I'm going to be an advisor. So there you go. I'm an advisor to lots of people, and it came because in my life back in Nomo, they were having a Star Wars with the Draco reptilians that went on for 27,000 um, uh, universal years, but 270,000 Earth years, and and we were losing the war, and I suggested that we include them in the Earth experiment. And because they were so hated from all the billions of people they had killed, that they refused and rejected the idea. But 450 years later, we were losing the war worse. And so they suggested that and they accepted. So after that, everybody that was going to have a life as a leader of a country or whatever wanted me to be there on their team as an advisor. So that's why I've had so many uh, so many lives on Earth so far, and I still have another 300 more to go.
Well, there's a lot going on. Have to admit it.
Yeah, a whole lot. It's so I do have a couple of podcasts where I did a past, present, and future lives, part one and part two, and two podcasts where I go through all these lives and try and make sense of them. Uh, the only life that I know of that I started a religion, well, other than the gentle way, was uh, I was the guy that started Spiritism religion, a Frenchman. Oh gosh, what's his name? And I'll hopefully think of it in a minute. But anyway, he started Spiritism, and that was the third quadrant young life for me. So I I hadn't had that many lives at that time.
But they're all happening together.
They are all happening together.
So before you had zero lives, and then you had many, many lives all at the same time.
Well, I mean, they're all going on at the same time. When we go from one life to the next, I mean, like that next life I have on Earth, um, is going to be in the 3400 era. And that's going to be my next life. It's already happening. I'm already visiting all these
Right.
planets and everything, but that's on a future life. And then after that, I'm going to have a life back in the 2600 era to prepare people, whatever that means, to go to the stars. And then the next life after that, back to the 3400 era, but just on planet Earth. I won't go running around unless it's a vacation or something. Who knows? And then it's going to be back to the 20th century and
But they're all
you know
happening at the same time. So
yeah
they're not
and
linear.
right. Well, they're linear to us when I get through with this next life, then I'll go on to the next life after that, which is which is the 3400 era. But but it's still happening, and that's kind of confusing, uh but our life now affects all our other lives on earth, which is why I do that prayer. I want to make these as easy as possible. My guardian angel Theo was the very first golden light being, is what they're actually called. Golden light beings uh, raise their vibrational levels the hard way over millions, if not billions, of years. They raise their vibrational level to the to the point where they glow a golden light, and so they're called golden light beings. Now, for they volunteered for the work of watching over us because we had agreed to be veiled for these lives as part of the deal that we uh, made with the Creator, and so they're there to help us. They prefer the term servants of the Creator. Okay, and they came from other creations, and all over the place. You could say, because there's trillions of creations, and what's amazing is that every one of those creators was created by the Creator of creators with a different interest. So if you and Creator of creators is still popping them out, who knows, thousands or millions at a time, all with different interests. That's really amazing.
It certainly is. How does he keep track?
Yeah, or she, I call her. I call her Mama
That could be a
Creator,
she.
or you know, so or Big Mama. I call her Big Mama. That's what so it's um, when you get into doing these meditations, you can ask anything, just like Creator said, you can ask me the most trivial questions and I'll answer. And and the more you do these, the more mind expanding and the more understanding of life in the whole universe.
Hmm.
One of the questions I asked just this past Saturday was, let's see if I can read it. It was, um, do black holes connect to another universe? Right? Somebody sent me that. And and a creator said no, but he said, I'll give you a hint. Where does those gas and those particles come from that form the galaxies and planets and moons and suns and all? And that's all creator would say, that little hint.
Well, there's something to think about.
Yeah.
Well, I like to be surprised.
To be
I know
surprised.
that, and I mean, I think it's partly my spirit guide who wants me to be surprised. I sort of accept that. But he doesn't, there's a lot that he doesn't want me to know now about sort of my life, my future life, and so on. And I accept that.
Yeah. And
He's,
it can be, but at the same time, I mean, you don't have to ask about your past, present, or future lives. You can ask a million questions on other subjects,
well,
and
yes,
that's
but the point is he doesn't want me to know those things. And so I accept that.
okay.
We have different roles. You see, you're living the role that you selected and that was selected with you and by your guides. And
Mm,
obviously you have had rich past accumulations of information, a rich past and you have a rich future ahead as well. And I've had a very different history.
mhm.
I'm not supposed to know my history now, according to my spirit guide, and that's okay. I have a lot to discover once I go home. I'm looking forward to that, actually.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. I mean, we all have bad guy lives. So, you know, my I'm told my worst life on earth was back in Lemuria. Now, you see, I had 180 lives or so um, in during Atlantean times, but only had 65 during Lemurian times. And I said, well, why the difference? And I was told, well, for thousands of years, they had an idyllic existence. And it was only in the last 1,000 years that they started warring with each other. So there were, I think, 7 countries um, on the continent of Lemuria, which was located quite close to Japan and extended to the east within 100 miles of Hawaii, which is why, and the Lemurians vacation there. So that's why there is this energy of Lemuria in Hawaii, because for thousands of years, uh, families would go there uh, to vacation. And even when they started warring with each other, each one would have their own beach. So one beach, maybe the people would be very clothed. Another one might be topless or nudist. Who knows? Whatever their belief system was. But in that last 1,000 years, they started warring, and I was a religious leader again. But in that life, I encouraged um, our leaders of that country. We had hydrogen type bombs, and I was one of the ones. Oh yeah, go ahead and bomb them. They don't have any way to retaliate. Well,
Well, that's pretty pathetic of you.
and And so we bombed those other two countries, two of the countries. They did have a way to retaliate. They bombed us, and and the result was the whole continent broke apart, and millions of people again all over the world lost their lives because the seas rose 172 feet. I was told that I consider that my worst life on earth, and it took me either 85 or 87 lives to balance that one really bad life. So, you know, the bad ones come, uh, you can't have a good life, every single one. I'm told that all the bad lives and all the good lives have to balance by the time you're through with all your lives on earth.
Oh my goodness gracious, Tom. And I thought you were such a good guy too, honestly.
Well, I try to be. That was a long time ago when you think about it.
A very long
Um,
time ago.
yeah, a long time ago. So, um, we do the best we can. Keep in mind we're raising the whole idea of having lives on Earth is to raise the vibrational levels uh,
Of each of
for
us.
for
That's
everyone.
very true.
You
That's
know.
very, very true. Oh, my dear, we're coming toward the end of our time together now. And
Okay.
and what would you like people to take away from our time, from hearing us talking? They're kind of boggle-eyed at this point, but I just wonder, what would you like them to take away?
Well, I I want people to at least experiment with the gentle way. To say, I request the most benevolent outcome for my drive to work, or I request the most benevolent outcome for a parking space. I mean, little simple things that are mundane. This modality is over 10 times better than like the law of attraction as an example. It works. It'll make your
Right,
life
let's talk about that then. I request the most benevolent outcome
mm,
for my drive to work.
right. Or or I request the most benevolent outcome for my meeting with my boss today, or um, to have results even better than I can hope for or expect. When before I came on this broadcast, I said I request the most benevolent outcome for the results uh, of this interview to have results even better than I can hope for or expect. So you can use that every single day in so many different ways. And I mean, we can do a whole program in the future if you'd like, in nothing but the gentle way. And and when you say prayers for other people, you say, I ask any and all beings to uh, please uh, end the fighting in the Middle East, uh, uh, even sooner than we can hope or
In
expect,
the most benevolent way
in the
for
most
all
benevolent
creatures
way.
on earth.
Yes, thank you. I always say thank you when I first started with this, when Reveals the Mysteries um, was telling me, and I'll uh, you know that I was to reintroduce this to in this time period. I didn't say thank you, but all these things happened, and they were so amazing. This works perfectly with your soul path, as long as what you request is within your soul path. You will have that answer, and it can be amazing. Um, I have
I
so many
request
stories
the
on it.
most benevolent outcome for whatever the people who are listening today. I request the most benevolent outcome for each of the rest of their days.
Yes, yeah,
And
and
thank you, dear God, for
yeah,
giving them that bit of joy in their lives today.
and see, when I first started requesting benevolent outcomes, I didn't know how they worked. Okay, and so I said, I don't know how it works, but it works perfectly. Now I'd never been able to say that. I'd tried the law of attraction, didn't work very well. and this worked perfectly. So I was eventually told that it is a prayer that you have to say out loud because the human voice, scientists will prove in the future the power of the human voice. It has this power. And if we were all to say the same exact prayer for like the war to end in the Middle East or Ukraine or wherever, um, if we all say exactly the same prayer, it has a crescendo effect. And it's like instead of 100 people saying, it's 1,000. And it's very, very powerful. And I'm told someday, and I don't know how this will happen, I'm supposed to uh, say a benevolent prayer for peace in the world, and it's going to be with 1 million people. How that's going to happen, I have no idea.
Once again, my dearly beloved friends, we've come to the end of our time together this week. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes, and I'm so glad you could be with us today. Please never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began and you never will end. And when you really understand all the implications of that extraordinary fact, which is absolutely true, it's going to change everything in your life for the better. And our guest next week will be Debbie Dobbins. She's one of those entertaining and delightful people who was such a favorite with our audience the first two times that she was here, that those two times were, and just very recently, that she's back again. Debbie is not your typical wealth mentor either. That's what she claims to be. She's a wealth mentor, but she's had some horrible experiences in her life, and instead of letting them get her down, she rebuilt her life. And now she's all about helping entrepreneurs to rewrite their life stories about money, power, human purpose. This is her story, after building a successful business herself and teaching abundance for decades, Debbie found herself face to face with a cancer diagnosis, broke, and on food stamps. And that experience didn't break her, though. Instead, it activated her, and through feminine energy, intuition, and radical personal reimagining things, she figured out what true success actually means for each of us. And Debbie is actually, she's funny now. And she's a lot of fun. And above all, she speaks with love and conviction and a genuine wish to help of each of us find out what has been through all the hard parts in our own lives too, and how to get beyond it all and how to become who we truly can be. She's really an amazing person now. After she went through food stamps, after she lost it all, went through food stamps, she's now wonderful. Please be sure to join us next week. I think you're going to really enjoy this. And of course, our guest this week has been Tom T. Moore, and he's a man who, again, had all the success in the world, and then he felt called to do something more. He went to and I could, please trust me on this, where all the ley lines meet is a very extraordinary place. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on there. And Tom just said, bring it on. I'm ready to handle it. He thought he was going to write one book. Well, it's been 8, and now it's going to be another one too. I've only seen 2 of his books, and they are delightful, just as he is delightful. And wow, those Western ley lines in the Western United States really do help to awaken and deepen us spiritually. And yes, there is no time where we're going back to at the end of this lifetime on earth. Yes, we come here to learn how to deepen ourselves spiritually and raise our spiritual vibrations. Yes, and many of the things he's telling us are actually true. So let's think about these things. Let's maybe take a look at 1 or 2 of his books, and let's let our dear friend Tom T. Moore help him lead us into a deeper, a richer, a more amazing lifetime in the second half of our lives. So thank you very much, Tom, for being with us, for telling us some really kind of freaky things. And But we will have you back again because there's a lot more I know you have to teach us. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy, please make the most of this coming week in our one reality that we all share together so beautifully. And always know that you are a powerful, eternal, and beautiful being, and you most of all in this entire universe. You are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.